Okay, so we have some results and I think you will be surprised. So strap yourselves in and get ready for $400 bike meets $15,000 bike. Let's go. Okay, so we're here at the International Regatta Centre. I've picked this location because A, it is public, B, it is no cars allowed, and C, it is my local crit track, so I know it pretty well. We have the strangest park up. These are the three bikes that we're going to be testing. So we've got the Cycling Deals Blazer, we've got my GT Grade, and we have my Fesca 1. I've picked these three bikes because they're the only three bikes that I own. We're going to be using the Asioma pedals to test power, and the tests that we're going to be doing are threefold. Number one, we're going to be doing a lap at 300 watts to check the time. Number two, we're going to do a lap at 200 watts, check the time. And number three, we're going to do a spin down. So I'm going to accelerate to 30 kilometers an hour. At a certain point, I will stop pedaling and we will mark how long it takes for these to slow down. I forgot to bring my witch's hat, so we're going to be using my thongs as markers. So super unscientific, but you know what, shut up. We got Warwick the cameraman getting some footage, and we're gonna have a good time, so let's get started. So they're going to be on different tyres. I've got the Vittoria Corsa Pro on my Fesca. I've got the Vittoria Zafiro on my GT, and I've got some Gator Skin Continentals on the CD. Now this is simply because I can't afford to get Vittoria Corsa Pros for all of them, and you know what, I don't think it's the tyres that are going to break this test, but bear that in mind when you're comparing these numbers. So we're going to save the results to the end and we are going to get stuck in. Okay, to say I was surprised by the results is an understatement. So the testing ran thus. Use the Fesca first, set a base. I did the 200 watt lap, then the 300 watt lap, and then the spin down test, and the results should be coming up for the Fesca while I do this. We started each lap from the same line, with me using the lap tool on my Garmin to record the times. I set up a test profile on the Garmin so that it only gave me the data that I needed, specifically for most of this, just my average power. And when you lap, it tells you the average power for each lap, so I could see what I was doing for each lap there. This meant I knew I was hitting my zones. For the spin test, I accelerated to 30 Ks, and then at the same line, I would stop pedaling and roll through and record which point I stopped at. Essentially, I did this until momentum stopped me and I felt I had to put my foot down and unclip, otherwise I was going to fall over. Now, the Fesca is not an aero bike, but it is built for speed and it's a really good crit bike. It runs Legend Pro 60mm deep wheels with external cabling from the bars into the frame and then internal for the rest. Has a bar width of 440 millimeters and it weighs in without the pedals at 7.4 kilograms. We then ran the GT Grade, did the same tests. This bike was the first road bike that I ever bought, and so I'm a little sentimental about this, and I was quite proud of the little engine that could. I got this at the end of 2019 and did my first races back after a period out of cycling on this bad boy, and it's now my Zwift trainer bike. The GT has fully external cabling, a Frankenstein wheel set, because when I first bought it off some dude on Facebook Marketplace, it kept shearing the spokes at the nipple, and so I had to buy a new rear wheel because the GT has a through axle on the front and a quick release on the back. It's 2016 model and through axles were new. The rear is a DT Swiss Spline X1900 and the front is a Stans No Tubes ZTR Rattler with a bar width of 435 millimeters and it weighs in at 9 kilograms. All right, so the last one we're going to do is the one that you're all here to see, and that's the CD Blazer. You may notice that it is now running Bontrager race wheels.
I got these for 120 bucks off Facebook Marketplace, and I've whacked Continental Gator skins on here. Figure that'll give it a fighting chance.
The Cycling Deals Blazer has the same cabling system as the Fesca, so internal from the frame, and I'm running a Bontrager race wheel set that I got for 120 bucks off Facebook Marketplace. Everything else was stock out of the box except for the Asioma pedals to test the power. Has a bar width of 430 millimeters, and this one weighs in at 11.6 kilos with the old wheels.
Yeah, that's shit.
But 10.9 kilos with the Bontrager race wheels. I held to the best of my ability the same position for each bike. I've set them up to be the same fit, but I was on the hoods for the testing across the board. So, the results are, and cue the drum roll, 200 watt test. Fesca came in first at 8 minutes 45, followed by the GT at 8 minutes 46, and the Cycling Deals at 9 minutes 16. For the 300 watt test, the rankings are the Fesca at 7 minutes and 40 seconds, the GT at 7 minutes and 41 seconds, and the Cycling Deal at 7 minutes and 58 seconds. And then for the spin down test, the rankings are, and I didn't believe this, the GT rolled for 324 meters after stopping, the Fesca 309 meters, and the Cycling Deals tied with the Fesca at 309 meters. I also chucked the old wheels onto the Cycling Deals bike to test them, and they rolled for 293 meters, so a significant difference there.
Yeah, that's shit.
The real surprise for me here wasn't the Blazer, it was the GT grade. It performed really well across all of the testing, which was a big surprise, and a testament to how good the GT bikes are. The Blazer, on the other hand, was quite a bit behind. We're talking 30 seconds for the 200 watt test, and over almost 20 seconds behind on the 300 watt test. So that's a significant difference if you're in a race or a time trial or something like that. It's pretty bad. There is a caveat that comes with this. There was a pretty strong headwind when I was testing the Fesca that was blowing westerly, which did back off by the time I tested the GT and the Blazer. And I'll leave it up to you to make your own decisions about whether that would have benefited me on the straight going west or whether that would have hindered me on the straight going east. It's up to you. But the track goes in an east-west direction. So the other thing that I should mention is that the spin down test was conducted on a very slight downhill gradient that had a kick at the end. This may have benefited the heavier bikes, and it may have given some of the bikes, like the GT for example, more momentum coming into that kick than perhaps the Fesca. Again, you can make of that what you will. So, keen to hear your thoughts on which one came out on top in this testing, whether it's the Fesca, the Cycling Deals, or the GT. For me, it's the dark horse, it's the one that we weren't even testing really, and that's the GT. It was really just there as a control, and it has blown away my expectations. So it is testament to what a lot of people have been saying, which is there is a really good second-hand market if you're in the know and you feel confident doing that. It's definitely an avenue to explore when looking at getting some bargains on some good bikes. But yeah, keen to know your thoughts. If you think this is worth a like, then chuck it one. If you think it's worth a sub, then chuck it one. If you don't know what to write, chuck an eggplant emoji in for the way you feel about this video. And if you have any thoughts on future paces to run the Cycling Deals Blazer through, let me know. Keen for some ideas. I'm thinking maybe a hill climb. Rock on.